push comes to shove, do you know who you can count on? When push comes to shove, do people know that they can count on you? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 3 of the Torah portion, Matot, Masei, tribes, and then journeys. Let's go over to chapter 31 of the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, and begin reading with verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Take vengeance for the children of Israel on the Midianites. After that, you are to be gathered to your people." And Moshe spoke to the people, saying, "Arm some of yourselves for the campaign, and let them go out to the Midianites to take vengeance for Yahweh on Midian." Slight difference of reading there between the two verses. In the first verse, Yah says, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for Israel." Moshe turns around and says, "We're going to take vengeance on the Midianites, but it's going to be for Yahweh." What's going on here? Well, first of all, the word vengeance here is nakom. You could transliterate that as N apostrophe Q-O-M, nakom. It is a nun. The letter nun is looks like a fish or something that's active. It is the symbol for activity, or it could be the air if you consider that the symbol is for the seed. It is the air. That is H-E-I-R. Then we have the kuf that is traditionally in old form a circle with a line through it talking about the time, looking at the horizon before and after time. And then we have the mem, which is might or chaos or waters. Here we'll use the idea of might. So the air's time of might. You could, not a doctrine here, just an understanding of the letters. So if we're looking at the air's time of might, that it is time of vengeance. Yeshua says in Luke 4, he quotes Isaiah chapter number 61, that the anointing of Yah is upon me, for he has anointed me to preach the good tidings to the poor. And he lists those attributes of activity that he's going to engage in. What he leaves off is the day of the vengeance of our Elohim. He didn't come for vengeance the first time. He came as Messiah ben Joseph to redeem and to deliver. He's returning as Messiah ben David, in order to bring the vengeance of Yah. So the time of the heir's might. Here the form is nakumat. It is adding the tav, which is the symbol of the covenant. So we may be looking at the heir's time of might for the covenant, or because of the covenant. Make no mistake about it, the activity of Yah in the earth as he moves in our lives, as he responds to the movements of nations, it is by our invitation, but it is also for the purpose of defending, enacting, and upholding his covenant. Yah does not act on whims or arbitrarily in the earth. He acts specifically for purposes, primarily for the integrity of his name and the validity of his covenant. So as we look at this, then, he has given Israel an opportunity to go get vengeance for yourself. Moshe calls to a higher calling for Israel. No, let's go get vengeance for the integrity of Yah. Now, exactly who is it that they're enacting vengeance against? It's the Midianites. The Midianites and the Moabites conspired together, even though they were traditionally adversaries, they conspired together in order to seduce the men of Israel through the worship of Baal Peor, and seducing the men of Israel, bringing them to their feasts, feeding them with meats granting to them the company of gorgeous women. Many of the Israeli men fell for that. Sadly so. The Midianites then were in collusion against Israel. One would say, well, then Moshe has a right to be mad. And even though Yah says, when this battle is over, you're going to be gathered to your people, he didn't waste any time. It's not like he thought, well, if I delay the battle, then I got more time on earth. He said, raise up the army, arm some of yourselves, and let's get this done. Moshe's not afraid to die. He didn't delay. Well, then he must have been outraged at the Midianites. Not so fast. Remember, he had spent 40 years among the members of Pharaoh's court and palace. But his compassion was for Israel. That failed. He spent the next 40 years with Midian, among the Midianites. They housed him. They accepted him. He was one of them for 40 years. He has spent the last 40 years with Israel. That has not been a picnic. This has not been any pleasure cruise by any imagination. It has been a warfare, trying, upsetting, challenging, rebellious time. So who would you choose? Pharaoh's court that was trying to kill you? The Midianites who accepted you, housed you, allowed you to marry into them and be one of them? Or Israel, who has been a thorn in his side and a source of testing and trial since he's known them? Yet he says, go distress the Midianites and get vengeance for Yah. Moshe was not thinking about Moshe. He was thinking about the integrity of Yah, the purpose and design of his covenant, and that it was Yah's command. Yah's command was all that he needed to hear. This teaches us, I think, something very important. That in these days in which we're living, I believe to be the last days, we need to be aware of who it is that we can count on, lean on, and trust. Trust is a very fragile commodity. It can be very easily destroyed, and it is hard to accomplish. But once you have someone's trust or someone is trusted in you, we must do all that we can to verify that trust, to validate that trust, and to maintain it. In these days, we should understand, should be in the key word here, we should be able to understand that in the body of belief, among the members of those that are grafted into the olive tree, among those that are covenant Israel, we should find those that we can depend on and trust and rely on, and know that as we have their back and are there for them, that they do the same for us. In the book of Acts, early on, there was the attempt to have all things common. If I needed something and you had it, you would give. If you had need of something and I had it, I would give to you. All things are common. Nothing really belongs to any of us. It's all in between us. It's here for you to use. Wonderful, novel idea. It gets murky and muddy at times. But the key point is this. Yah wants us to function rightly as the body. Each bodily part, whether it's a finger, a hand, or a fingernail, the hair on the knuckle, everyone has a role to play and a purpose. We know what that is. We move into that arena. We do the best that we can to serve that purpose, knowing that as I do my job and you do yours, that we work together and we get the whole accomplished. Knowing who you can rely on. Then we also then know those that we can't. We have the camp of the reliable, and everyone outside of that camp, we need discernment, we need understanding, we need wisdom, and we need to walk very, very carefully. Be circumspect today. Be trustworthy, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, shalom.